particular work is based on the Tarot, which is a system of fortune telling, or actually a psychological investigation into the self based on archetypes. And I've been fascinated with archetypes all my life. I've been very interested in Jungian psychology and the idea of the collective unconscious and all of the mythology and stories that have been told time and time again throughout all religions and through all cultures for millennium, and will continue. And I feel that the archetypes represent aspects of personality, certain elements of our personality. And if you understand how to read the tarot, I'm a very poor tarot reader, but I enjoy it. You can get a concept of how a characteristic of personality is. It's like a distillation of personality for each of these characters. So each character in the painting represents a element of a journey, a psychic journey, a spiritual journey of developing a person through their lives. So the first one is the Fool, and the Fool is the one with the cat in the backpack, and he's typically shown as a traveler with a knapsack over his back and a dog, because the dog is instinct nipping at his heels. So I like to switch it up a little bit. He's wearing more modern garments. It's a little more steampunk. He's about to fall off the edge of the cliff, but maybe not. He's gazing over the cliff. And the cat, which is the instinct for him, is reaching out to catch onto the backpack. The next card in the series is the Priestess, which I don't have in my possession anymore. But the Priestess is an emerging from the self. I used that particular model, I used myself for that. And at that time when I was developing that painting, I was kind of emerging out of a dark place. Then the Magician is the next, actually the Magician comes before the Priestess, but that's okay. The Magician is the next card after the Fool. And it is like emerging from the darkness. So the idea was this person coming out of the darkness. You can't see the shadow. You can't see the shadow side. And he's entering the light. So in my work at the time, it took a lot of transformation. Every single piece, I think, that an artist does, that's serious. And I mean like a serious monumental piece or a piece that's really important, signifies a transitional experience or a discovery, a self-discovery. All paintings, of course, are of the artist. The artist is always painting themselves. So through the Fool, I had a friend who I thought was really took a lot of risks, like the Fool does, and tended to walk into situations that maybe not everyone should walk into. So he epitomized that characteristic for me, that being able to take risks and allowing instinct to guide him. The Magician, I was coming out of a dark place, so looking for that light to pull my spirit out. I was pulling the spirit of this individual out. It had something to do with the model, but I take from the model and take it further than that. So every model I understand, every model I know, and I get a sense of their personality, but then I take the most compelling element that they seem to be projecting to me of their archetype and pull it out into the archetype represented in the card. I jump around on the cards. In the cards, they run a particular path where you're going from the Fool, which is the very beginning, knowing nothing, to the World, which is at the very end where you have enlightenment. In my paintings, I jump around to whatever archetype strikes me at the time. So one of my favorite pieces is the World, and that is my daughter when she was 4, and she was the world to me. Really was, and still is the world to me in many ways. The World in the tarot represents everything, the encompassing of all, and there's a little spark of light in her hand that I feel it worked out so well. Sometimes this stuff doesn't even allow for language to be able to describe it completely. So the meaning of the work and the execution of the work is an interesting idea, because I needed to learn how to create this kind of work, realistic, monumental, compelling imagery using the human figure, realist but not realistic. It's no one stands above the earth, right? Except metaphorically. So it's not, I wouldn't call it surrealistic either. It's mythological and symbolic. And my tarot paintings are always bigger than life. They have to be bigger than life. I work all kinds of sizes, but with those paintings, they're big. So I had to learn how to do traditional painting first. It took years and years and years before I could figure out what I wanted to say. And then I could start saying things. It's still harder for me to say than it is for me to do. It's harder for me to bring the idea to fruition than it is to actually do the painting. The painting itself is easy. It's what the painting is of that's challenging.